record to this computer, right? All right, cool. So welcome, guys. Glad to have you all on. Obviously, we're all kind of getting together, and the purpose of this is not for our own gain, not to gain followers or really to get our names out there. It's really just to share our ideas, that some things that God's put on our heart that's really helped us, and that we can hopefully help to anybody who's going to watch. All right. So if we could, can everybody go around and just kind of give a brief overview, like a personal, kind of like your own personal background? Garrett, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So Garrett Foley, originally from New Jersey, living out in Ohio right now with Nate and Ryan. We'll go and introduce themselves. So, I mean, as far as, my walk with Christ, grew up in a Christian home, went and fell away for a while, and finally made my way back. And so I've been, striving constantly to be in the Word every day, making sure that, I'm growing every single day in that aspect. But as far as, me personally, I enjoy being outside, love the outdoors. Can't really stand being inside for the most part, but yeah. Anything else specific you want there, bud?
No. Well, what do you do for a living again?
Driver trainer.
Cool. Yeah, you are. Josh?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My name is Josh Hussey, born and raised in New Jersey. Currently living in Virginia Beach area. I have a 6-year-old daughter named Skylar. Brief little history. Had a pretty rocky road for a long time. I gave college a try, and that was an utter failure. But I ended up going back. So, for all of you out there that want to give up, don't. But I ended up joining the Army, 8-year combat veteran. And now I'm a nuclear quality inspector for nuclear aircraft carriers. But yeah, like I said, it's been a long road for me, a lot of ups, lots of downs. But I'm loving where I'm at now. And yeah, 29 years old. Best year of my life. Best year of my life.
Beast. All right,
hey, Nate,
Ryan?
quick question. Is this your brother?
Shoot. That is my brother, yes.
It's your brother. Gotcha. Okay.
What's up, bro?
Nice to meet you, bud.
You too, man.
Yeah.
Breaking down walls right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm figuring it out. I got this.
Call me the sledgehammer, because I'm just breaking down walls.
2 fingers at a time.
That's good. Ryan, you want to give your background?
Yeah, for sure. Name's Ryan Luton. Originally grew up in northern West Virginia, Panhandle. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, with good old Nate Hussey and Garrett Foley. When we're all in the same house, because it seems like none of us actually live together, because we all are doing our own different things. I help out with restaurant development and management for a franchise currently. And then I'm also in business with Nate outside of that, and Nate and I attend the same church as well. So, what other side notes do you want, Nate? What other background?
How fast can you run the mile?
My fastest ever, or fastest now?
Fastest ever.
About 4:32.
Ooh, yikes!
But I was about 5'11" and about 115 pounds.
Sure.
When I did that, so I was probably doing it pretty unhealthy, but it's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
Good deal.
That's fine.
Thanks, Ryan. And I'm Nate Hussey. I also live with these two degenerates, Ryan and Garrett. Just kidding, they're good guys. I am 23 years old. I have a weird, long history of things. I know it sounds stupid because I'm 23 years old, but I did a lot of things very quickly. Grew up in a Christian house. My dad's a pastor, actually, or mine and Josh's. And we grew up hearing what not to do. We never really grew up hearing what we should do instead. So a bit of a rocky road for us, because we definitely went to the world. I went to school for a year. Turned out I hated it. And then after that, I've been working, doing a lot of different jobs. Ended up from New Jersey to Virginia to Ohio, I currently work as a plumber, and then in a business with Ryan Luton outside of that. And God's been really good. I fell away for a while, was a proclaimed atheist for many years, and then God punched me in the face. So here I am today. What a great story.
I remember both of those times.
Yes, they were not great times. Not good at all.
You gotta love that 2x4 every once in a while.
You really do. You really do. And it's cool because like the devil's like, come over here, then God just blindsides you, you know? It's like, oh, you turn your back away from me, ear hole. Oh man. So yeah, we're just gonna before we start sharing, I'd like to open this up in prayer, because obviously everything we're gonna be sharing comes from God. All our stories have one common thread, and that is that we are where we are today because we serve a really cool God. So if everyone would. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of a day, the present, that we may do with it according to your will and glory. God, thank you for sending your son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for our sins and saved us from sin and hell, Lord God. Thank you for Ryan, Josh, and Garrett, God. Thank you that they have a heart after you, Lord God. And thank you that they were able to join us today. And please grant all of us wisdom and discernment, and the ability to be articulate and to proclaim your word and the message that you've given us today, Lord God. All the glory goes to you. We thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right. So wrote down a couple of discussion topics just for us to kind of stay on track, because I know we're all capable of going down the rabbit hole, as it were. So first kind of thing is we're all kind of here having this discussion because of what we see in the world, because we see a need for it in the world, right? So anyone can be able anyone can jump in or start whenever they see fit. But from what you've seen in the world, from what you guys have seen in the world, how has the definition of what it means to be a man or a woman changed since you were a kid? Because we grew up being taught or thinking what it means to be a man, and it's shifted even since we were growing up. So how have you guys kind of seen that come to pass?
Well, I guess I'll start. Growing up, I mean, I know I can speak for you too, Nate. I mean, we're taught to hold doors for women, treat women with respect. So we're taught to be protectors, to be providers. I mean, that's what we saw growing up. We grew up in a household where my father worked and my mom, homeschooled for the most parts. My dad, the man, was always the provider. You know what I mean? And he displayed that for us. Nowadays, I look out there and it more and more seems like they're trying to blend men and women into just one gender almost. Equality across the board. When you talk about the characteristics of a man, you always end up in somehow offending somebody. They take masculinity and they make it toxic men. So, it's kind of a culture shock, when you live through a culture like that. Everything that you knew growing up is now not the same as it was. You know what I mean? So, and it's crazy to live through that culture change.
I like that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, very similar here. When I was born, my mom went and quit her job. She was a lawyer at the EPA, and came home and decided to raise me. And then had, my brother and my sister, raised us, and my dad was, the main breadwinner. And, he instilled in me and also my sister, my brother, hard work ethic, and then, absolutely respect above anything else. Respect everybody. Always give respect first, and then whether you receive it or not, you can go from there. But it's definitely a shift nowadays. You don't see people holding, like Josh said, you don't see people holding doors. You don't see people actually truly genuinely asking, like, how are you doing, or actually having an invested interest in you. Everybody's kind of just looking out for themselves. Really, it's becoming almost a very selfish kind of time to be in, where I have to be number one, I have to be first, and that could be something simple where you're driving on the road people just cutting you off. The's no respect there. Or if you're just in the store, people won't move out of your way, or they're just rushing through, jamming through. It's just kind of that, like, respect in our society, I think, has gone to a new low that we didn't see when we were kids and we were being raised.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think I have a little bit of a different perspective than probably you guys when it comes to being raised and how I saw manhood growing up. I didn't have any brothers, but I had 3 sisters, and then my father was actually active duty for a lot of my times between 5 and 10. So I didn't really see them a lot, and I also grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. So what I saw as manhood, the only manhood that I saw personally growing up was through pretty much uncles that were alcoholics. So that's my perspective. So I took what I saw growing up was a world where being raised by females made it hard to like grow up in school with other guys, because if you have your 3 sisters and you don't want to play football and you're not in the sports, you're the guy that gets beat up. And then when your mom's a teacher too, you're kind of like that guy. So my perspective on manhood growing up wasn't one where I was taught to kind of show as much integrity and character and forthrightness to women, because I live with women. So I mean, I basically was raised in that culture. So that's why nowadays when I see, I feel like I'm a little bit more sensitive to seeing kind of like what you guys were talking about, how we're not treating, there's not enough of treating women the way that they should be treated. I've even heard and read it said that there's some woman out there that if you hold a door for them, they'll chastise you and they'll demonize you, right?
Yeah.
And they will destroy you. Like, how dare you hold that door open? I can hold this myself. You are the patriarch. You are the patriarchy.
Right. You're somehow in your honor.
Yeah, and you're basically, by you doing that, you're taking power from them, and that's a problem. Right. That's a big problem. And if that's where the world's going to go, and there's not enough guys that are actually rooted in Christ that have an understanding of what being a true man of God is, and there's not enough women out there that see that that's how things are supposed to click and work, the whole thing's going to be screwed up worse than what it is. But
and to bounce off that, Ryan, that's why I love that book by John Eldridge, Wild at Heart.
Mm-hmm.
It truly breaks down, because in a lot of ways, in the Christian atmosphere that we have today, it almost kind of leads toward, it has that liberal, left-leaning kind of stance on masculinity. Right. We shouldn't be aggressive or as vocal as we are, as that their definition of masculinity. But I love it in the book where it clearly outlines what that should look like, coming from a Christ perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So to elaborate on that, because you both kind of touched on it a little bit, just kind of skimmed the edge of it. What do you think caused this shift? What kind of led us to the point where women are saying, you can't hold a door for me, I can do it myself, and men are, taking Instagram pictures of their girlfriends' butts to post for other guys to like? What, how did we get here?
I think you said right there. I think a big social media is.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that the start of social media caused it?
I do, yeah. I believe that social media allows people to paint this picture of a false reality, right? So you look at people's Facebook, their Instagram, and see these pictures of beautiful, happy relationships. All these successful people, when in reality that we all know that's not the case. But it's human nature to constantly compare yourself to other people, and so you're always going to be comparing yourself to something that doesn't exist. And I feel like that kind of ties into, it feeds this addiction of attention, and the addiction to be justified and validated, and to feel wanted. And I feel like social media, it plays that role. I mean, there's so much, and with a click of a button, you can replace one person and pick up another. And I feel like that's enabled such this shift. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how to put this, but the females know what men want kind of thing, the supply and demand. And I mean, I feel like it's played a part in sex losing its value. And it may be gaining a monetary value, you know what I'm saying? More or less a moral value, and it turned into a monetary or sexual value, But I do think that social media has played a giant role in that.
Mm-hmm. One of the words that comes one of the phrases that comes to mind when you're talking about is social media is unregulated sin. Because think about this.
There you go.
So pride and ego, right? As guys, we're very at the core very prideful. We have ego, and imagine we're dating somebody and we have a pretty hot girlfriend, but that's not enough. We have to post about her, like what you're saying, because we need to make sure every guy out there knows that, hey, I'm the guy.
Right.
I'm the guy, and she's the girl, and
right.
I'm better. And then there's that tribalism there too, to where it's like, I'm the alpha and you're the beta because I have a hotter spouse than you, and I'm gonna hold that over you, and it's unregulated, and there's nothing stopping that.
Yeah, facts.
And if it doesn't work out, they have a name for it, Josh. It's the potential problem. I believe that's what it's called. Where if it's not working out, look at all this potential.
Right.
Like if it's not working out, whatever, girl, because Susie May liked my post yesterday of me flashing my six-pack.
Exactly. And I mean, we're at the point now. I mean, I've been social media for about 3 years now. And
nice.
I'm looked at as the crazy one, for not having media. Like, there's something wrong with me. I must be trying to hide something because I don't have social. That's where we're at now.
You're going against the culture.
Right. Exactly.
I also think a big part of what ties into it too, and it's funny, Josh, because I think it does. I think social media has played into it, or even just having the internet in our hand is distracted parents. So
not only that, but I like what you said there, the instant access. I feel like that has kind of led to this instant gratification society. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, just speaking, trying to date, for example. I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences, somebody, and just so instantly, they have all these feelings, and instantly from all these stipulations, instantly they want to have sex. It says everything has to be instant. And it's an instant gratification society we live in. I feel like, technology and all these advancements that convenience us in all these other ways has also led to our demise this way.
Yeah. It's all about me and I want it now.
Right.
It's just same thing with, Amazon. Now they have, same day shipping for stuff. It's like, I don't want it. Remember when it used to take like 2 weeks to go and order something?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're like waiting for 2 weeks for it to come. You're like, yeah. Now it's like, what? And people go and complain now because they didn't get their stuff like the next day.
Right.
And you can think where this is going too with manhood, because I'm sure as you guys have seen how there's a lot of initiative to try to push for like AI, like the sex robots, the AI robot girlfriends.
Yeah.
So then you got to think, if that takes over, and then all of a sudden it's the instant gratification.
Right.
This is easy for me to have the perfect woman that's AI, so it's real enough for me. And then all of a sudden, manhood doesn't. You don't need manhood then.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's out the door. But that's where we talk about culture. That's where cultures you see the writing on the wall. Where is the river leading, and that's where the river is leading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like
completely
that.
agree. Yeah.
So on the flip side, going to transition a little bit. We as good Christian men, or growing Christian men, I should say that probably. As growing Christian men, we're looking for our wife, right? And we don't really believe in instant gratification because nothing good comes from that. It hasn't worked in the gym. It hasn't worked in the bedroom. and it hasn't worked in my bank account. So I don't know why we're still trying it. The only place it works is Amazon, but then it also acts against your bank account. Anyway, you'll figure that one out on the way home. So as we find a wife, I got 20 packages from Amazon, but I can't buy bread.
Darn it.
Ah, man.
Not again.
That's what happens.
Must have been the wife. So we kind of talk about making a list to find our wife, right? We've talked about this many times. It mainly the idea came originally from to me, and I'm sure Ryan, from the book The New Rules of Love, Sex, and Dating by Andy Stanley. That's where I read it from. My mom had told me about it for years, and I never listened to her until I read the book. Funny how that works. It's a hussy trait, I swear. So for you guys, why is it so important to find the right woman, quote unquote, the right woman, before I get married? Like, doesn't that just take the fun out of dating?
No, I see it all depends on what you're looking for, though. So if your form of fun in dating is, seeing a girl for 3 weeks and sleeping together, right? Then having a list and looking for that, then yeah, that wouldn't be fun. But, if you're actually looking for a good woman of character, with the certain moral values, ethics and everything else in character that you are looking for, then by having the list, you're able to basically weed out any other prospects. So that way, now if you find somebody who meets, your, how should I say, criteria, right, or what you're looking for, now that's actually a vested interest. And now you diving into that, you can be fully committed in that relationship. So, and for me, I think that's something awesome, because then it's not fake, it's not flaky, you're all there.
I think there needs to be actually two kinds of love when you're trying to find a wife. There's two kinds of love. The one love is the sexual love. When you meet that nice waitress or the girl at the bar, and man, she looks so good, and you're just like, as guys, we're like, man, we need to make kids now. Now we just got to do it. And then people that's what they base their relationship off of. Like, man, we look great. You're a terrible conversationalist, but man, you're hot. And then they date like that for a while, and then they get married. But then why is it that after like 2 to 3 years, then people get divorced? It's because the way I see it is there's that sexual love where we're just heated up, we're ready to go, that hot love. But then you can think of it like a gas tank. But then there's the commitment love. And you gotta have somewhat of both, because as soon as that hot love drains, that's not going to last when you're 60. When all those wrinkles come up, you're just going to go find that with somebody else, right? Or if she's in a car accident and something happens and you don't have that commitment love tank full, you're not going to be able to go through the hard seasons. So I think having a list is really important. We need to make sure we have a list just so we know it's exactly what we want, so we're not wasting time with the wrong person. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the commitment love's there. Like, is this a person to where it's crazy to get married? It's like you could say marriage is dumb, like marriage is stupid, but is it more stupid for me not to be married to this person? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, is there really just one woman out there for me?
I think when it comes to that could almost be like a personal decision.
I'll say this. For me, the list was kind of life changing. For years, if I have one weakness, I would say it would have been sex. And for a long time, in my head, I'm telling myself I'm trying to find, perfect woman for me, but I'm sleeping around with different people and kind of like, using multiple people to put together my perfect woman. You know what I mean? Like this girl over here, she has this certain trait, this, this one has this, so I'm kind of like taking pieces of all these different women to try to make my perfect woman. I really give all myself anything. And after multiple talks with Nate, my brother, I realized that I didn't have a purpose. I was dating with a purpose. And once I kind of realized that I needed to switch my mental focus and I need to date with a purpose, that's when I created the list. And I mean, when I created this list, I was so specific with what I wanted, because I feel like, I mean, that's a whole nother issue that a lot of men aren't really honest with themselves about what it is that they need in a relationship. Even the small little quirky things, people need to be honest about what it is that they need out of a relationship. And that's something that I did when I was making this list, down to the weirdest little quirks. And when I found my person, it's like, I mean, I'll be damned. I mean, she checks every stupid little box on this list. You know what I mean? I mean, that's crazy to me. And, I feel like that's because I was dating with a purpose. I know what I wanted. I made a list, and I'm making a commitment before God and myself that I'm going to hold myself to this list. I'm going to hold myself to this standard for myself and for my daughter, and I'm not settling. And God delivered her to me, that list changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So can you expand, and for all of you guys, can you expand a little bit on, if I'm deciding I'm gonna make a list, okay, what kind of things should I put on my list? Like I don't care if she has blonde hair or brown hair, like what are some really important things that I should have on there?
Well, probably the first one would be God. If you're gonna want to date somebody or marry somebody that God wants for you, or a Christian marriage, I think that'll be a great first place to start.
Okay. So God.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I'm just kind of like reading from my own over here. So I have, basically pushes you to follow your dreams and aspirations. So basically, like a cheerleader for you in a way.
Right.
So that doesn't try to hold you back or keep you from doing those things, but instead helps you with that forward motion. So, when making a list, I'm, looking for more character stuff and personality stuff, and the only one I have down here on, appearance is just basically, they're beautiful or they're attractive to me,
Right.
because that's more of a, how should I say, not as important. I mean, obviously you need to be attracted to them, but I'm not going to go through and itemize that specifically, at least for me, because that's not something that I throw a lot of value on, at least for myself. But that's, like I said, your list is your own list.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, every list is going to be different because everybody needs certain things. Like Garrett said, him, that's not something that he values to be at the top of his list, But I mean, if I was giving advice, I would say definitely. I mean, like Brian said too, top God, those values, like that should be at the top of your list, and then after that, as specific as you want to, depending on what you value and what your priorities are.
I think there's I've read it in a book before that we can run into a problem sometimes if we are making the list with the wrong expectations and with the wrong motives. Right. Because I could go down a 50-point checklist and I could come up with this totally out of the box, perfect woman. But if I'm writing that list with a root issue of that ego and pride we talked about, yes, I want her to be a 10 out of 10, but why? But if the root issue is, I want her to be a 10 out of 10, blonde, blue eyes, perfect fit. But in back of my mind, and at a heart issue, I want that. So then every guy sees my marriage and sees what I have. So that was actually, Nate, I think I told you this. That was part of the reason why it was really hard for me, with my girlfriend. That's why we broke up the first time. Is because I did have that list of way too out of the box expectations, and I wanted the perfect person. And it was almost like a grocery list. Like I was treating it as a grocery list. Like I have to have these specific things, and I need this. I need this. I was addicted to the idea that I'm gonna have the perfect wife because then everyone's gonna see me through my wife, right? So then I had to go back to my list and then go through everything and actually like have a conversation and pray about, is this really something like, is this really important to what I want? Is this one detail so important? Or is this detail because I want somebody for the wrong reasons?
Yeah.
So then for me personally, I think it's just making sure to remember, like, is this what I want? Or is this what I want? Or is this what I need? Kind of like what you were saying, Josh.
Yeah.
And then a real slap in the face, Ryan, is when you find the girl who hits everything except the God checklist. You know, she's that perfect 10 out of 10. She is drop dead gorgeous. Actually, she ended up having a boyfriend, but I met a girl like that at the dog park. Drop dead gorgeous, ambitious, you know, and like all these things, but she was living with her boyfriend out of wedlock. So, I mean, look, everybody sins. I get it, but if you don't recognize it's sin, you're probably not walking with God, and you probably don't have a settled heart. And that's number one for me. Yeah, God is my number one, and number two is that they have a settled heart. Not perfect, but most people think relationships are 50-50. Relationships need to be 100-100. They need to know who they are and whose they are. Whose they are, meaning God. They're a child of God, and their self-image comes from God. I can't tell you how many girls I have talked to, whether I'm in a relationship with them or I'm the confidant where they're talking to me about their relationship, where their entire self-image is wrapped up in the guy. Their entire self-image is wrapped up in the guy, or the guy is having issues and they're trying to fix them. Like, anytime you're trying to fix the other person, and that's another reason why we make a list. It's not judgment. It's not judgment. It's not a never thing. It's just not a now. You just if you're the perfect girl and you're not a Christian right now, that's great. I'm not going to date you. I'm not going to judge you, but we're not ready to be dating right now. You may come to Christ, and then it's game on. I got your number saved. I'm gonna hit dial the second you get saved. But unless you have a settled heart and you know where your self-image comes from, like, other than that, if you fix all those problems, if you fix the guy's problems every single time, it's not his problems now. It's your problem, because you're the solution, right? If you fix that other person's problem, now you're the solution to all their problems. If God is the solution to their problems, if God fixes their problems, if you have issues and you go to God with it, then you can come together with unity in the relationship, as God is your center point, and all glory goes to him. All healing and forgiveness comes through him, not through the spouse. 100, giving everything and needing nothing. That's a healthy relationship for me.
Going back to what you said about seeing somebody, like, let's say if it's that perfect person and they don't have God in their life, and then what do we as guys want to do, like what we talked about, fix? So then we have a choice, because if we want to take matters into our own hands, we realistically have the choice where we could say, you know what, she's perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna bring her to God. I'm gonna take that on, and it's gonna work out, right?
While having ulterior motive the whole time.
Yep, exactly. It's like, I don't want to miss out on this perfect person, and I'm willing to fix this person. But how many times have you guys gotten in trouble doing that? Because I've gotten in trouble trying to fix people, maybe bring them to God, or fix these small issues, but we can't fix things as guys. That's not. Yeah, we find value in our works by fixing things and making things better, but that's not how we fix people. People got to be fixed because they want to fix themselves. Right.
And this is a perfect segue, Ryan, because the next topic I want to get into is how to actually be a man of God and stay true to your list after you've written it. So you've written it, that's all well and good, but how do we stay true with it? Because to your point, let's say we're trying to lead this girl to Christ, but she's not a Christian, right? So growing up in the world, what does the world say? By the third date, that's game on. By the third date, I'm sleeping over. That's what the world says, right?
Right.
So, are you strong enough to actually stop dead in your tracks and say, no, I'm not gonna have sex until marriage. You know,
you can say you're strong enough. I think Nate, you talked to me about this before. You can say you're strong enough, but then she's like, "Hey, I'm coming over," and if you know what's gonna happen, you know how this person is.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I'll be okay. It's just a movie." And then, "Hey, can I sit on the same couch?" No one's. Oh, it's fine. No one's home. It's okay.
Well, and then, I mean,
you know, it's just one thing. I mean, you can say you can say you can handle it, but
right?
Yeah, if you make a commitment that you're not. If you make a commitment, you're not gonna like have sex with this person, but then you're in the moment.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
Yeah,
I've been in a situation where that was happening, and I stopped it from happening, and I got accused of cheating. So you have that other side too. Like, you know, I'm being looked at as, again, suspicious, you know, and weird, you know, and sneaky because I have morals and values, you know, because it goes against the grain. It's different, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. People won't understand it when you do it.
Right.
That goes back to the cultural thing.
Right.
Yeah. We're the minority.
What was I telling you? Was it Friday, Josh? That most men are more afraid to tell their boys that they're a virgin than they're afraid to tell their heavenly Father that they sinned.
Right. Yeah, that's facts.
How sad is that?
Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, we've had many encounters like that, but all right. So we've got our list. What does that mean? Like, I've got my list. Does that mean I stop dating until I meet this perfect girl? How do you guys date with a list?
For me, it really just you know, helped me. It helped me to put this, not waste my time. So for example, I'd go on a date and almost immediately realized that she didn't, you know, meet a lot of key things on my list. You know, so at that point, you know, one date is all that was wasted, you know, rather than, you know, me engaging with, and, you know, in the back of your head, you know, I think we've all been there, you know, where in the back of your head, you know, it's really not going to work out. It's really not going to go anywhere, but for whatever, just stay in it, you know, just to see. So for me, it really helped me save a lot of time, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think when you're dating with a list, you know, like Nate and I, like we talk about having your non-negotiables,
right?
Like first and foremost, right? So, you know, that's God. You know, maybe some like a personality or character traits and stuff like that, and then obviously if you're attracted to that individual. And then from there, you know, you kind of have to go on that first, second, maybe third date to really figure out everything on your list and to see where everything kind of follows up. And maybe you have some things on your list that you can't tell until, you know, you're maybe further into a relationship that way. But if everything else isn't met on there, then you should already know by then, you know, but you can't get caught in the trap with that, you know, almost that comfortability.
Right.
With being in a relationship, especially if it's good and it's nice. You don't want to get caught in that if it's not going to be something that long term is going to work out for you or not going to be in your best interest.
Stay with a purpose.
Yeah. So, and I have experience in that one. So
I think we all do, unfortunately. But I mean, that's a good thing. We're all speaking from a position of experience. Nothing we're talking on. We haven't already fallen through the cracks and sank to the bottom of the pit.
We've all had a couple butt fumbles here and there.
Let's just say this: we all know what it feels like at rock bottom. It's cold and dark. Not like they make it seem like it's much.
Bikini bottom, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One of the one of the hardest things I've seen, which Josh, you said you're pretty far. You're pretty far in a relationship, right, Josh? Is that what you said? Okay, so so you and I are kind of like on the same page. I think so. You probably understand this. If you date with a list, and then that's making a commitment to that list. From what I've noticed, my personal perspective is the enemy sees that and he'll do anything to derail it.
For sure.
So, like I was talking about before, like with that original list of me thinking I want all these fleshly desires and ego and then pride attached to like the perfect woman.
Right.
And then now I'm dating somebody where I know like she's the one that like she fits the list, all the right parts of the list, right? What God wants for me. But one thing I didn't tell you, Nate, yet when I was down at the airport and flew down to Alabama yesterday, and I was down in Alabama. I was in line in Texas at a layover, and I was talking to this guy in line for like 30 minutes, and then right in front of us, there's this girl right in front of us, and I promise you, she was a porn star. I promise you, everything was fake. She was she was gorgeous. This person's in front of you, right? And I'm happen to be in line in a layover, and everyone at the whole room is just like old people just hanging out, and there's just one porn star right in front of me, next to this guy I'm talking to, and the entire time I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I have to, like I'm standing here and I'm feeling all this like tension come up because I'm like these thoughts start coming to mind. Like, man, like I know I'm dating somebody, but man, this person looks good. And then you have to say, no, it's not what I want. That's not. What am I thinking with? Am I thinking with my big head or little head?
Right.
I mean, that's literally what I thought. I would have looked down and I was like, nope, wrong head. Nope, not today. And then I finally got in the plane and I was just like, I finally got past it after all this mental attack, and I'm like, Jesus. And then the next day during lunch, I got lunch with the guy I was buying a piece of equipment from, and I bought the lunch. And our waitress is also a very attractive blonde, like super hot, super great, and she starts flirting with me. And then she tells me she's like, "Hey, by the way, I really like your socks. I'm wearing black socks, black Nike socks," and I'm like, I'm wearing black socks. Like, why are you flirting with me right now? I'm with a person. I'm here. I'm like, thank you. Have a great day. But the thoughts start coming up like, man, how hard would it be to get your number? I mean, that wouldn't be hard. You're very attractive. Yeah. And then I have to immediately say, nope, that's not what I want. That's not it. I know that's rooted in my fleshly desires. I'm going to tell you, thank you. Here's a tip. I'm walking out. And we left. That was like 2 days in a row. And what's funny is Yelena and I recently, for the past month, I've started talking more about really taking things seriously. But as soon as I made that commitment, like verbally, everything started hitting left and right. And Josh, I don't know if you have any experience like that.
Same.
Is that the same? Is that relevant?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
Okay, I'm not alone. It sucks.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, all of a sudden you're immediately under attack. With all the temptations from all different corners. Like
how are you here?
Yeah, right. Like, even like people that I haven't talked to in years. Randomly slide in the DMs. Like what? That's weird, like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is crazy. Nate, I think I even spoke about that one time. Like, it was crazy. Like,
yeah. Hard pass, girl. Hard pass.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy when you step out on faith. The devil tries to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Every single time. It just reminds you that we are living, unfortunately, in enemy territory. And all right, so here's a question. I mean, everyone can answer because we've all gone on dates at post making your list. But all right, when I first made the decision to actually date as a good man rather than how I was dating before, which it wasn't really dating, it was date, a different date, it's just different nights,
And then the ing.
Yeah, there was no ing. It was one date, one great night, and I was gone.
Right, yeah, the ing is absent.
Yeah, there was no ing.
Yeah,
right. Date ing.
And I kind of realized that when I was trying to date with the ing attached when I was trying to actually date long term. Dating with a purpose, as you would call it, Josh. Which I honestly, I really like that. I really like that wording. I realized that all of my moves lead to the bedroom. So then I actually had no moves anymore. I had 0 moves.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of tough because, again, this goes back to the way we were raised. We were taught, don't have sex until you're married. Me and Josh weren't technically allowed to date until what? I think it was different for everyone, but I think mine was. I think high school was supposed to be. Maybe got downgraded to middle school. I don't really remember. We never obeyed the rules.
Yeah, so it's still a little gray area, but
still kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
A lot of controversy with that one.
Oh, for sure.
But what's kind of the different? And Ryan, I know a little bit about your story and you being in college too with that kind of dating life. How has dating with a purpose changed the way that you actually go on dates and interact with the women? Well, now woman, but you get it.
It makes it easier, I think, because when I was in college, I pretty much made the decision because fun fact, I was dating a girl. She was my best friend from high school, and as soon as we graduated, we were already going to the same college, just because that's where we were just both going to end up.
Yeah.
So then we went to college dating each other, and she was my best friend. We loved each other. It was like my first real relationship, right? But I was kind of sheltered growing up. I mean, with the 3 sisters, no brothers, dad wasn't really there. I didn't really know what it meant. I had no idea what it meant to like be a man at all. And I thought through the secular, what's it mean to be a man? Going into college.
Right.
Yeah. So then I went into college with that mindset with this girl. And then within 5 months, I broke it off with her because off the basis that, hey, listen, I love you, but like I have so much that I don't even know about myself. And I need this time to just literally let loose, to figure myself out. So I actually broke it off just so I could screw around for the next 3.5 years and basically bang anything that walked, because that's where I started finding a lot of my value in the girls that I was with.
Yeah.
I would meet a girl at a party and she'd be pretty good looking, she'd be hot, and I know the other guys liked her, so I'd get her in bed, and to me that was like, yeah, I'm the guy now. And that's where I started by trying to figure out who I was, to moving into, that's where I found my self-worth, by the girls I was sleeping with. And that actually made it really hard, because then I found myself more and more losing who I was. Because by the end of it, by my senior year, I was literally sleeping with girls, and then once we finished, I was like, what the heck am I doing? Right? Because my mentor now, who's the franchise owner, my junior year, he started preaching to me and ministering to me, and I was starting to go to some of his Bible studies. I grew up in Presbyterian church, but when I was like 14, I said, hey, I don't want any of that. But then he started talking to me about God and all this stuff, and then it really started to like make me feel the conviction on the choices I was making. And then it really started to expose, like, man, what the heck am I doing? Right? And then what made it even hard, which is why I love sex and dating, I didn't even think there was a problem with sex before marriage until I read that book. Yeah, because I read that book and then I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? That makes total sense. And that's why it was so hard for me to be with Lena, because I held all of these preconceived notions of what I thought I got my worth out of. And then I tried to bring that into a Christian relationship, and it was chaos. And that's why we split up a couple times, because I couldn't handle it.
Right.
But
I totally agree with what Ryan said. And very, very similar experience. I was with my daughter's mom for 3.5 years, and we ended up cheating on her, and she moved out about 2 weeks after my daughter was born. And after that happened, like as a man, like, and, at the time I was young. I was only 21 years old. I was down here in Virginia by myself, so I had no family, no support, no real lifelines. And I just felt so rejected and so disrespected as a man and as a father. And so same kind of thing. I tried to find value, man, through sleeping with, you know what I mean? That kind of like validated me, you know, kind of empowered me, like, you know, like Ryan was saying, like, I'm the man, you know, like, and so for a long time, that's where my identity was, you know, and, you know, once I started dating with a purpose, you know, it definitely made it a lot easier, you know, because I'm immediately, you know, I have a standard, and I'm that, you know, it's not what I want, you know, not what I need. And, you know, like I said before, you know, a lot of time, you know, that I would have wasted beforehand, you know, leaving somebody on playing a game, you know, to me, like dating with a purpose, like I'm not playing any, like for like Nate, you know, I'm a very honest person. So off the bat, you know, I'm telling them, look, you know, I'm dating with the intention to marry. So like, I'm not saying I want to get married tomorrow, but like I'm not this is the thing. I'm dating with the intention to marry somebody. And a lot of times, you know, women don't have that same mindset. So off the bat, you know, there's you know, wasted time out the way. You know, a lot of time that you would spend trying to get to know somebody just to figure out that they're not even trying to get married. You know, dating with a purpose and being more honest with other people, more honest with myself, definitely helped me a lot in terms of finding myself, finding what I value, finding what I need in a relationship, and eventually finding that person.
Josh, would you say it brings clarity?
Oh,
it brings clarity to the dating process.
For sure, bro. Like once I took myself off social media and you know went through that whole shift. I mean, I've never had more clarity ever. You know, because beforehand it was like, you know, you're giving a little piece of yourself to this person, a little piece to this person, a little piece to this person. You know,
and vice versa. You're taking a piece. You're taking a piece. You're taking a piece.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And then Garrett, you very recently you tried your hand at online dating, and met a girl up in Cleveland, and you guys went on 2 dates, if my memory serves me. And she wasn't what you were looking for. You know, she was a great girl.
She was a nice girl. She was very attractive.
Very attractive.
It's just not what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of walk me through that. How did that go? And how it, as it differs from maybe the way you dated out in Tucson.
So it's a whole nother sidetrack there. But no, it's a Christian dating app that I was on. And so being that I travel a lot, you know, I'm just on there, swiping, looking, I'm like, this is stupid, whatever. But got one message. And so we just kind of messaged back and forth, went and grabbed dinner, I think 2 nights after that, because I was still over in Cleveland. Christian girl, you know, beautiful, she, you know, really nice personality, and met like, you know, quite a few things on that list. And so I was like, all right, let me go further with this. And so then not that following weekend, the weekend after, went up, kind of spent the day together, went and like pretty much just saw Cleveland. She like showed me around, gave me like a tour around there. And it was fun, had a great time. She's a great person. We just didn't click there. So there wasn't like any real true connection. She was kind of, you know, like on a personality side, kind of quieter than I kind of liked. But at the same time, we had a lot of similarities, a lot of things to talk about. And she met a lot of the things that were on my list. Obviously that I can see without being in a relationship for, you know, a month or two.
Right.
But still being able to, you know, see that, knowing that, you know, there's no connection there really. There's nothing for me to, you know, further entertain it. I was knowing that, all right, I'm not completely just, you know, my list isn't complete nonsense, right? I can actually find women like this, but we just got to keep looking to find a correct one. But it's nice to be able to go and do that now and be able to see that, you know, like Ryan and Josh were saying, dating with a purpose.
Right.
So that way you are finding that person for you, right? That fits, you know, what you need, not necessarily what you want. And, you know, much likened to both Josh and Ryan, you know, going to college. It was, you know, I pretty much threw away my Christianity in college and just partied it up and lived life, you know. And yeah, finally after that and started coming back, you know, you hit rock bottom. A nice, like we were saying, that nice 2x4 coming right across. And thankfully,
Big stopping.
I've caught a few of them.
but we're able to come up out of that, and then you can use what you've been through. You know, thankfully we're saved by grace,
Right.
you know, and we have forgiveness for what we've done, because I'll tell you, without that, it'll keep you up at night. But being able to do that, and now being able to look back and to learn off of that as an experience, and then being able to share that with, you know, other people,
Right.
that's great there. But dating out there, like Ryan was saying, it's just like, oh, you're hot, cool.
Right.
Your place or mine? What are we doing?
Or neither.
Just
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
where's an open room?
yeah. What's the quickest? It's that instant gratification that Josh was talking about.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Doesn't matter. Just anywhere.
Anyway.
Yep.
Here's the other thing too, and this is it kind of goes along with instant gratification. It's almost I almost think of it as like, because Ryan, we've heard the term ambitiously lazy before.
Yep.
I don't necessarily like that term in the way that we've heard it. I think of ambitiously lazy as the people who are really ambitious but do nothing to get there. You know. And
They got all these
that was
ideas, but then they act.
right. And that was me in the dating world, because I kind of when I was, you know, growing up and started really kind of seeking after a girlfriend or whatever. I had this ambition of the wife I wanted, or the woman I wanted. It probably resembled my mom in a lot of ways, as most men do. But it was funny because, you know, I had this like, oh yeah, this girl's the one that I want to marry, but what up, girl? She's convenient, you know, she's here, she's ready, she likes me, you know, and it doesn't matter if I disrespect her, because I'm not gonna marry her, you know, it doesn't matter. And I did that so many different times. Doesn't matter if I break her heart, I'm never gonna see her again. You know, it doesn't matter if I destroy her self-image, you know, like, she's already a slut. What does it matter? You know, she wants it too. I'm not hurting her. She wants it too, you know, and this is something that we've all kind of talked about. We've all kind of seen it in our minds, in our own kind of right, is that at some point, if you truly want that caliber of a woman, what you wrote on that list, you have to become the man that she would want, right? Because if you're saying that I want a wife with values, but you're sleeping around town, she doesn't want you. You know, if you're saying that, you know, I want a woman of God, you know, but you're not in the Word, you're not seeking after Him, she's not going to want you. You know, so all these things that you've written down on your list, you've got to ask yourself, would your wife want, with that wife, with that girl that you wrote down, would she want you today? And I'm not talking about a physical thing, because you can't really control that, you know? I have an extremely round head, and I can't control that. You know, it's just a dome. All right, it's great. I can't control that. I have this weird central vein that comes down when I get super excited about stuff. You've probably seen it 15 times today. Okay,
Yeah,
I can't control.
There it is.
There it is. I can't control that. I'm weird. My wife is going to love me. But as far as things that we can control, as far as the controllables, as far as growing as a man and as a man of God, we can control those things.
Nate,
and yeah.
Would you say it's almost like you're on a highway, right? And then you got to jump on that highway going towards what God wants for you. And then somewhere along the way, you're going to pull up next to another girl that's going the same direction.
Yeah.
Going the same, and you guys are going to pull up next to each other, going the same direction. You're going to look left, and she's going to look right, or vice versa. And then that person's on the same highway, going the same speed, same direction. But if you're on the opposite side of the highway, going away from what God wants and away from that list, you're never going to cross paths with that girl.
I've actually never heard it put so simply, but that is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Read it in a book
and
somewhere.
somewhere. And I'll say this too: if you don't think that you have an impact on the girls you're meeting, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I tried my hand. Full disclosure: I tried my hand at online dating. I'm terrible at it. I don't know how to do it. Even this is so far outside my comfort zone. Social media.
I love when you're online dating.
It wasn't great. Okay. But I met a girl on one of those dating apps, and she ended up being a Christian, and we ended up talking a little bit, and I don't know how it came out, but I eventually told her that I'm not having sex until marriage. And then like right out she came out, she's like, "Wait, are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Is it worth it?" And because I was like, full disclosure, like I've had sex before. I wish I was, but I'm not a virgin. But once I gave my life to Christ, I recommitted to that purity. And she's like, I can't believe, she's like, I'm so happy you said that, because I look out in the world and it looks like so much fun. She was a virgin up until that. She was a virgin after that conversation too. But she had been a virgin all her life, and she was considering having sex.
Mm-hmm.
Now I haven't followed up with her. I hope she's still living that pure life. But the world makes it look really good. But we've all lived it. And we felt that, when you have conviction after you're walking out at 6 a.m. leaving her there, knowing you're a scumbag. You're not bold enough to admit it to yourself, but it in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a much bigger impact on the world, and this is something I've talked with a lot of you extensively. I think Josh lost connection.
I was getting tired of that too.
It was. Is supply and demand, that if we uphold, now Ryan, this kind of excludes you, but you did it for a while. You just happen to be in a long-term relationship, so I doubt you're going to get back into the single dating sphere anytime soon. Yeah, probably not. Maybe
with where things are going, probably not.
Probably not until death to us part. I don't know what time that is. Death to us part. But
that's on my watch somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me just schedule that into my calendar.
Yeah, you got the invite's already in the
mail. Ryan re-enters the dating pool.
Yikes.
In heaven as the bridegroom. Okay.
Oh, no. Perfect ending. No periods. Finish that sentence.
Yeah.
Yes, he did it.
Yep, man. But all right, as single people, if we're hitting everything on their list and they want to have sex and we refuse to, or we uphold all of these standards, multiple standards, it's more than just sex. But if we uphold multiple standards, and we're a man that a woman desires, they're gonna want to rise their own standard to meet a man like that, to be a woman that a man like that wants to be with,
Yeah.
So it's good, man. It's all good. I appreciate you guys. The last kind of thing I wanted to touch on, is kind of any struggle and victory that you guys have had, and that you guys have had to like really overcome as far as being a man of God and as it relates to preparing for your wife.
Any struggle?
Yeah, any struggle. Any struggle that you've overcome.
There was something that happened last year, right after the men's conference, the men's leadership conference, for the yeah, you know, Nate. So right after I gave my life to Christ, I think it was the next week or the week or two. It was like the week after or 2 weeks after I found out that my best friend at the time, his girlfriend, broke up with him. Right, and he was my old roommate, like probably my best friend for like 5 years, and she broke up with him. I was in Cambridge doing something out that way, and his girlfriend and I were friends because when Dana and I lived with each other, she hits me up when she finds out I'm in Cambridge, which is basically 20 minutes from New Concord, and I was starting to drive back towards Columbus, and then she texts me. Nate, did I tell you this?
You did, but keep going.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I'm in Cambridge, and I get a text or a Snapchat, and she's like, "Hey, I want you to come over." She's like, "Come over to my dorm," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "You're with Dane," and she's like, I left Dane," and I'm like, "What do you mean you left Dane? You guys were together forever," and she's like, "Are you coming over or not?" But it was weird because this happened right after I gave my life to Christ, and I've never felt such a pull to like just go over. Like, man, this is fine. This is gonna be great, man. She's really attractive. She's hot. You know, I gave my life to Christ last week, but you know, I can do this. I can do this thing one time. It's fine. Yeah, it was probably the strongest pull I've ever had. But then I was contemplating it. I was starting to drive towards Columbus, and there's one exit, and I literally had hit this conviction like, you're not going that way. If you go that way, everything's out the window. And I remember I had my hands on the steering wheel, like right here, and I remember like having this internal battle that was like, you're gonna turn right, you're gonna go to her house, and you're gonna go to church in the morning. And then it was like, nope, you're going straight. And it was a decision. It was like, go right, go have sex with my best friend's like now ex-girlfriend, which would have been horrible, but I really considered it, or just keep going. And then at the last second, I really had to like tell myself, hold the wheel, hold the wheel, hold the wheel, don't turn, just keep going, just keep driving.
Yeah.
And I remember I was starting to try to pull it, and I just kept asking God, like, God, I know you're there now. I know things are good. I can use some help. Just keep me straight. And then I just kept going. And then as soon as I passed the exit, it all just went away. All the tension and the stress that I felt like to go have sex, just all gone, because I overcome it. And ever since then, yeah, I've had like the struggles of feeling lust, but I've never actually felt that intense like desire and actually wanted to act on it. So that was probably the last time I've really seriously considered like a choice acting on my own fleshly desires.
That's awesome.
I love that story.
It's yeah, she's with another guy now. I think she's getting married. She's getting married.
Really?
And he looks like the best friend. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Everybody's got it tight.
Yeah.
Trying to fill a hole that only God can fill.
Yeah. See, I got out of that by going Russian. I said, all right, I guess God wants me to bring in a whole new gene pool.
This is fun. This is really fun.
I'm going Russian.
We're going Russian.
That's good. Mine would definitely have to be alcohol. So in the last relationship that I had, while it was many other things were wrong to begin with, alcohol definitely was a contributing factor to that, in my attitude and the way I was thinking and acting and everything else. And so you know, struggled for a while. You know, when I got to college, you know, here and there, but never really went out and partied in high school and stuff. I wasn't a part of those scenes really. And so when I went out there, it was just buck wild. You know, it's like you have the rambunctious dog inside the house all day, and then you just let him outside, just runs around. And so that's what I did. And from doing that, and then hitting, you know, rock bottom before I started creating like a dependency on alcohol. That was basically my self-medication. I didn't feel good, or, you know, my mind was just racing and I just didn't want to think anymore. And I would just go and, you know, drink until I couldn't think anymore, or I passed out. So that way I didn't have to think.
Right.
So, but going through that, you know, finally had a couple of bad mishaps in there as well, you know, regarding driving and drinking. Thankfully, you know, I didn't get hurt. I didn't hurt anybody else. But finally was able to go, you know, get help, get back and get right with God. It's been good ever since.
Yeah.
That yearning for that same kind of feeling is, you know, not there, or minimalistic at that. Right. To the point where, yeah, I can't go out and, you know, go have, you know, a beer and be content with that. To where before it was like, if I'm drinking one, I'm drinking till I can't stand.
Right. And so, how easy that
definitely is. Huh?
Yeah. I said, and how easy that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you. I not necessarily on the alcohol thing, on the sex thing for sure. I would say mine is less of a one big moment and more of like incrementally proving to myself and proving to God that I'm no longer that man. Because honestly, Ryan, we've talked about this a little bit, like having victory versus refusing to do something and living in fear of that thing, you know, because true victory is where you proven to yourself and God that you are no longer that man, or, you know, no longer that person, that sin does no longer has a hold on you. And, you know, you can have a beer and it's not an issue. Or you can
coming
go
at it
on
from the standpoint of, if I have a beer, like, it's game over. Like,
right.
It's almost like making that your idol.
Yeah.
Garrett, and I think I've told you, Garrett, I was kind of in the same boat with alcohol. And then when I came to Christ, I made the radical decision to say, like, nope, never a drop, never again, can't do it, no drinking. That's why for a while you got, like, Nate, you probably, even living here, you guys didn't see me drink much. When I bought that 6-pack of Fat Tire, that's probably the first beer I've like actually brought into this house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I made it such an idol in my head that it was a victory to me, but I had it as an understanding to where I was afraid that if I went to a bar, or if I drank a beer, if I went to a bar, it was game over. And I remember when I was on the motorcycle, sometimes when I first moved here, I'd drive downtown, up and down High Street, and I would just see the people at the bars, like for Columbus, OSU. I'd see the people at the bars while on the bike, and I'm just like, man, I need to get in there. For one, there's so many, like, I saw the girls there. I'm like, dude, there's so many girls there, plus alcohol. I'm like, for me, like, what it was starting to tear me up on the inside. But then I had to keep driving and get out of there. But I made it such an idol in my mind that it almost held me back. And that's why now you guys, if you see me have a beer, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But.
And that's something we've talked about. And I know my biggest fear was, like, I was afraid to go on any dates with girls that actually started hitting things on my list. Like, if she was a Christian and she, like, was starting to exhibit some of the traits that I was looking for, I was terrified to go out with her. In fact, like, I would convince myself not to go out with her and not to pursue her, because I was terrified that she would find out who I used to be, or who I still was. You know, I was terrified that I would revert back and I would hurt that girl, and she'd figure out that I was, you know, in my mind, like, truly a scumbag, you know? because of all the things that I've done over the years. And, you know, like I think it actually may have started with our conversation about you at the bar. Might have happened before that, but I started incrementally deciding that I was going to prove to myself that I was no longer that man. And, you know, step one being quitting pornography, stop, you know, not watching pornography anymore. Step two was, it was a very similar instance within she wasn't your ex-girlfriend, but this was my ex-girlfriend, who basically volunteered herself to come spend a week with me out in Ohio. Mind you, she lives in Jersey. So that's like an 8-hour drive for a booty call that she suggested, mind you. I literally, like, talk about instant gratification. I had to do zero work. I had to do zero work. I was going to ask her a totally different question. She's like, oh, I thought you were going to invite me to Ohio. And, you know,
that's easy.
It's so easy. I literally did not have to do anything. And sure, there's no guarantee that we're going to have sex, right? I get it. But, you know, I basically had to, it was eating me up that, like, I couldn't just avoid the question. Like, I had to outright blatantly say it. I mean, it was over a text, but same thing. That I was like, look, you can't come over, you can't come hang out with me because I know that because we're going to have sex. And if you, even if you didn't let me, I would have tried, because I know at that point, my flesh still was stronger than my spirit. If she was living in this house, living here, showering here, getting changed in my room, you know, all of these things, you know, it would have happened. Maybe I would have been strong the first 2 days. You know, so I basically told her, I was like, look, I'm not going to go back on the words that I spoke to myself and that I proclaimed to my Heavenly Father, the promise that I made. I'm not going to go back on that. I'm no longer that man. And, you know, that was the first one. And then, well, I guess pornography was the first one. That was the second one. And then the third one was, I was talking to you guys about this. When I met that girl at the dog park, and, it was kind of one of those things where I was getting a lot of gratification from helping her, right? We had a lot of deep conversations. You know, I was kind of sharing my heart, sharing some of the things that I've learned and grown through. I even told her straight up that I'm not having sex until marriage. And we ended up, I went to the pool and we talked more about stuff like that. And it was very comfortable. Let me say that. It was very, very comfortable. And boy, did she have a great body. Sorry, you know. And she was like, I don't want to be alone. You know, she was dog sitting. I don't want to be alone tonight. Like, being alone in different houses freaks me out. I'm like, well, you know, hey, like, why don't I come over? You know, we both want pizza. Let's get a pizza. I was gonna talk to her about a business thing anyway. And I was like, yeah, it'll be great. You know, I had good intentions, right? And before I know it, the pizza was gone. And then we were on the couch together, watching TV, and how easily you inch together on the couch. She walked away, and then I ended up like, when she walked away, I was like, oh, let me just like lay down, sprawl out. She climbs right in front of me. She's like, oh, we're cuddling now. Slides right in front of me. And I'll tell you what, man, it was very comfortable. And, you know, I will admit that I should have stopped it before. I should have stopped it at that point right there. I'd like to say that. But I'll tell you what, I didn't kiss her. I didn't have sex with her. And so I went home, and she's like, you forgot something. And I was like, what? And she sends me a kissy emoji. And then she's like, I know, like, you don't want to have sex, but you totally could have had me, or like, I really wanted you. Basically told me I could have had sex with her if I wanted to. I could have driven right back there. It was 5 minutes down the road from me, literally 5 minutes. But instead, the next morning I showed up in person, because she was trying to get me to hang out with her again. So I told her I was going to come over, and I came over, and I told her that we're not going to do this because she's not what I promised. And that's not a pat on my back. That's not way to go, Nate. That is just an example because
Oh crap! I went too far.
yeah.
Mhm.
And if we expect to meet the caliber of wife that we want, we have to meet that standard ourselves.
Exactly. Yep.
Nobody's perfect, but we're growing.
So,
I appreciate you guys.
Mhm.
you too, man.
You guys got any closing thoughts? Because that's pretty much all I had.
Is Josh okay?
I think so. His phone probably died, or he dropped it.
Shows up late, leaves early. At
Tragic.
least Ryan stayed to completion. You know.
I'm a finisher.
Ryan Luton, the closer.
Uh, not great at starting, but great at finishing.
I didn't know you were phlegmatic.
Oh man,
Oh man.
I have traits on all four. Didn't you hear? You're supposed to emulate all four.
Chameleon. I gotcha. I get it now.
I fit in
makes
every
sense.
space.
Yes. filling every. Oh, that was gonna be a bad one. I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Nope. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. All right. That's where we're gonna end it. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully we'll get more going and kind of talk about some more things next time.
Sure.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys too.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.
See you guys later.
Bye.